Hi, in this video we're going to talk about Windows 10 settings. Now there are a lot of settings in Windows 10, so we're not going to go, one by one here and take care of all of them because that would probably take hours to go through. So we're just going to go through the more important ones or the more commonly used ones so you can kind of get an idea of how you could change your settings within Windows. So to get there, all you need to do, so if you have the Windows 10 Start menu, which I don't because I don't like it, so you would have it like this, and then you can click on Settings right here to open it up. Or if you do have something like Classic Shell installed, gives you more of a Windows 7 Start menu, then you can just kind of click on Start and type in Settings, and it'll take you right there. So you notice when we get here we have several categories, so we'll just kind of go through these one at a time and just take care of the basics, just the main ones here that we really care about. Okay, so in this one we have the display settings. So if you want to change your resolution, your orientation, if you have more than one display, you could set up that kind of thing. Notifications, which is also down here, you could configure that. Your power and sleep options, for turning off your monitor or going into sleep mode. You could kind of get an overview of your storage, see what you got going on there. And these other ones, don't really come into play unless you have, tablet, or if you use the multitasking modes like for arranging windows and the snap feature and that kind of thing, and projecting to a PC and so on. So that's system. Okay, and then devices, that's where you're going to go and manage your hardware, your devices on your computer. So you could turn your Bluetooth on and off, and if you don't have Bluetooth adapter like we don't on this, I'm just going to turn that off because there's no point in having it on. You can kind of see what kind of keyboard and mouse you have, and you can also remove it if you're planning on changing it out, or if you want to remove it and re-add it to kind of troubleshoot. And it kind of goes over your audio features, what monitor you have, what you're using for your microphone and your speakers, and if you have other devices, like this is a flash drive plugged in, so that shows up there, and then for the wireless in this computer it shows up there. And then printers and scanners, this is where you could add printers and remove printers, and also check the properties by going into them and clicking on manage, or look at the printer queue, that kind of thing. Kind of similar to what you could do from going to devices and printers here. So that lists all your printers, and also stuff like a PDF printer, not necessarily physical printers, or your OneNote or XPS printer, that kind of thing. And let's see, we have mouse. Mouse options, for which primary button and how many lines you want to scroll with your wheel, and so on. Typing options for autocorrect. Pen and Windows Ink. This is not going to really apply unless you're doing this on a tablet or something with a touch screen. And your AutoPlay opens, so options, so if you put in a flash drive or a CD, that kind of thing, what's it going to do when you put it in? So in this case, if we put in a USB drive, the default or the option here is to open the file using Windows or File Explorer, or have it ask you and that kind of thing. And this is for cell phone, so there's been a Pixel cell phone plugged in here, and you can do the same type of thing there. And then this is just for an option if your issues connecting to USB devices, you'll get a little pop-up there saying there was a problem. Okay, so that was devices. So now network and internet. Alright, so here this is the main status, so it shows we're connected to the internet, computer, then the Ethernet connection, and then to the internet here. And you could change the connection properties if you want. So we're connected to a network called virus, and it shows the properties, the IP addresses and that kind of thing. And if you want to change your adapter options, it'll open the older box for network connections, and you could just right click in properties and go change your settings like that. And for folder sharing options, setting the defaults for network discovery and printer sharing, that kind of thing. Wi-Fi, if you have wireless in your computer, you could go here and configure, turn it off and on, and show the available networks in your area here. And check the properties of your device and manage your networks, that kind of thing. And Wi-Fi services, this is for hotspots, so we're not going to worry about that right now. And then Ethernet, so if you're using a network cable to plug in for your internet, you could go into Ethernet and go here, and then also manage some of the settings there. Dial-up, well, I don't know who uses dial-up still, but I guess if you're using that for something, you could set up your dial-up connection there and save for VPN if you're dialing into the office, that kind of thing. Looking for a remote connection, you could change there. Airplane mode doesn't apply unless you're on a tablet, so you're not going to take your desktop computer on the plane. Or I guess for a laptop too, you could use this so it's not connected to the internet. And if you want to use it as a mobile hotspot, kind of like you could do with your cell phone, you could do that too. And these two we're not going to worry about. Okay, so that was network and internet. So now personalization. So this is where you change stuff like your background images, or if you want to set up a slideshow for your background and that kind of thing. Colors, so if you want to do like color options for like the taskbar and desktop and that kind of thing. And transparency effects for the taskbar and so on. You do there. Lock screen. So this is like the picture that comes up when your computer locks or when you first turn it on before you put in your credentials. So you could, change some options to that, make it a slideshow or use a picture, that kind of thing. And then lock screen background picture size on the sign-in screen options there. If you want to change screensaver timeouts. Alright, and then themes. If you want to add a different theme, so we have this background here and with a certain color and these sounds, or actually we have no sounds on this, and what type of mouse cursor. And then you could also get more themes in the Windows Store there to kind of customize your settings there. And then the start button, if you want to, this applies to the Windows 10 type start button. So for options such as, show the app list and suggestions, and shows the full start screen and recently opened items and so on. And then we have taskbar. So if you want to lock the taskbar so it can't be moved, hide the taskbar so it's not visible unless you put your mouse down there. And those kind of options if you want the taskbar on the bottom or the side. If you want to combine taskbar buttons or have them all shown one at a time across the bottom here. And then notification icons, for down in here, what you want to show up. So if you don't want a lot of junk piling up here, you can kind of go through here and turn a lot of them off, stuff that you don't need to see all the time. And that's that. So now we're at apps. So this will show you options for installing your apps. You want to allow them for anywhere, only from the store, warnings, that kind of thing. If you want to search your apps and see what's installed on your computer, or you could also uninstall apps from here too, kind of like the way you would do it from programs and features, same type of thing. So you could do it here as well. Your default apps for not for everything, but just for your main usage like web browsing and email. You could change your default email apps and music player. And there's also, you could go to file associations and change, everything else that's not in this list. So this is not your only options here. Offline maps we're not going to worry about, and apps for websites we're not going to worry about. Okay, so these are your user accounts, and it shows what we're logged in here and what type of user. And if you want to take a picture from a webcam or browse from one on your computer, you could do that. And then email and app accounts, we don't have anything set up for that. Sign-in options for waking up. You could change your password, add a PIN if you want, add a picture password using a photo, and other security options there. We won't worry about this for this. And there's the sync settings. So if you're using a Microsoft account to sign into your computer, which we're not in this case, then you could kind of sync that with other computers. So when you sign in with your Microsoft account, it'll use the same settings. So that's kind of a nice feature. Kind of like if you're a Google Chrome user and you go to another computer and sign in with your Gmail account, it'll have your bookmarks and that kind of stuff over there. Alright, time and language. That's stuff like for time zones, and if you wanted to update the time zones automatically, or if you want to change the date and time. There's the daylight savings and the date format. If you want to change this from the defaults, you could go here. And this is, you could change to where you're located for languages. So we have English on here. You could add other languages, so you could have Windows display text in a different language if you like. And the speech option, options for microphone and text-to-speech, and you could change who you want your text-to-speech, I guess, virtual person to be. And a lot of people don't use that, but it's there if you need it. Alright, so we're at gaming. So this is not going to have anything configured here. But Windows has this thing called Game Bar where you could record clips and screenshots while you're playing games and upload them to YouTube, like you see a lot of people do that. And you could have keyboard shortcuts for that. And DVR for capturing screenshots and broadcasting audio while you're playing games. And game mode, I guess that's supposed to help you help the way it looks and make everything work out better for you when you're playing games. Never tried it. Okay, ease of access. So if you need some help looking at stuff, so like Narrator will read stuff on the screen when you go there. So if you have problems seeing, you could have that read it for you. And then there's the voice options again. You could change the speed and pitch. And reading hints for buttons and that kind of thing. And reading words as you type. And if you want to be able to see the cursor better, you could have it highlighted. And this looks like it might be something interesting in the future. And the magnifier, so if you're having problems seeing things, you could have the magnifier and kind of click and it'll kind of enlarge where you're clicking on for you. And you could have it follow the mouse cursor so you could always kind of get a better view for zooming in on stuff. And you could set your computer to use a high contrast theme so things will kind of stand out more and kind of help you view things better. And we've got other options, so for keyboard and on-screen keyboard, so you could have an actual keyboard on your screen, and if you have a touch screen you could use that. And mouse pointer, so if you want to make something a little easier to read your mouse with, you could change this to something a little more helpful. Okay, and privacy. This I always like to go through because there are so many things that Microsoft tracks and manages, and apps want access to your camera and your microphone and your location and all this stuff. So it's a good idea to go through here one by one and just go through and check all your privacy settings and make sure there's nothing in use that you don't want to be used. We actually have another video that covers this whole thing here. Alright, and then finally, update and security. So here, Windows Update. For Windows 10, it kind of does its own thing, and it checks when it wants, it installs when it wants, it reboots when it wants, so you can't really fine-tune it like you used to be able to. Windows Defender, if you're using this, you could turn it on and off. You could check for the updates, see what version you're at. I don't use it because I have another antivirus program. If you want Windows Backup to perform backups for you, you could add a drive and then schedule backups and decide what files and folders you want it to back up. The troubleshooting section, so if you're having a problem with a specific kind of device, you could run the troubleshooting wizard and it'll go through and try and fix it for you. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's kind of hit and miss, so it's worth a shot, I guess. And then recovery, if you do like a reset, this will leave your files but remove all your programs from your computer, so you can kind of start over. I don't really get the point of that, but I guess it's a way. Well, it's not even really a way of formatting and keeping your files because you still have Windows on there, so it's just a way just to clean up all your programs and leave you with kind of like a blank slate with your files intact. And if you want to run advanced startup, you could click on this and then it'll boot into a different mode with some options for recovery. So if you're having problems doing something, you could try that out. Then activation. Find My Device is not going to apply unless it's a mobile device. And we're not going to worry about developers or the Insider program. Yeah, so that's kind of like a quick overview of the Windows settings. Like I said, I didn't want to go into everything in too much detail because it would, you'd have to be watching this video for a couple hours. So it just kind of gives you an idea of what's what and how to access it. And then you can kind of play around yourself and, change the options to suit your needs or check for problems and so on. Alright, so that covers that. Thanks for watching.